Hey, friends. Welcome to Overreading It. I'm your host, Caitlin Redding, and I'm right here sharing juicy Reddit stories, wild true crime stories, mysterious happenings, and sometimes just some good old fashioned banter with my favorite people. And guys, today's episode is all about relationships. That's right. We're diving into some spicy relationship stories and dishing out a little advice along the way. Whether it's breakups, makeups, or straight up, what were they thinking moments, we've got you covered. Even better, I'm not doing it alone. Today, I'm joined by my very first guest, Wermy, aka Sean, my best friend and the king of hot takes when it comes to hot dating drama. Sean, do you have anything to say?
Hey!
My first guest.
I know. I've been practicing in my head with these stories. I'm just playing. I've only read it once, and based on my readings, it seems like they're pretty good stories. So I'm excited to share some crazy and wild stories with you today.
Yes, I'm excited to hear our hot takes on these stories. So, we got 4 different Reddit stories that we're going over today. I have 2. I asked Wormy to get 2 as well. And we're just going to see what we think about them. So, we'll start with my first one. This first one comes from a relationship advice on Reddit. How do I, 22 female, ask my boyfriend, 33 male, to contribute more fairly to our living expenses when he says it's not his house? Before I read it, what do you think about that title?
22 and 33. Can
hmm
you repeat it?
How do I, 22 female, ask my boyfriend, 33 male, to contribute more fairly to our living expenses when he says it's not his house?
Gosh. We're about to get into it. All right. Tell
Yeah.
me the story.
Okay. So, hey, Reddit, I could really use some perspective on this. I'm 22 and I bought my first home last spring, a huge milestone I really worked hard for. 2 months into dating, my boyfriend, he's 33, he moved in. At the time, he was living in the country with a friend, paying about $500 a month, no utilities. When we talked about him moving in, he said it would help me financially. And with how expensive rent is in our city, you can't find a 1 bedroom for under like $1,200. I figured 500 plus half the utilities, that seemed fair. But fast forward a year, and I'm feeling totally overwhelmed. I've racked up debt from surprise home repairs and life in general. Meanwhile, he makes about 20,000 more than I do, yet still only pays the same $500 plus utilities. I've brought up adjusting the arrangement, and every time he just shuts it down with passive aggressive comments like, well, then I guess we won't go on any dates. And though we rarely go on any to begin with, he claims he pays for everything else. But that's not true. I buy groceries, easily $500 a month, cook nearly every meal, and handle most of the house cleaning. He brought his dog when he moved in, and while I adore the dog, the shedding is an extra chore I never signed up for. On top of that, he's turned into the guest room into a personal storage locker for all his stuff. When I try to explain how stressed I feel, he always circles back to this, it's not my house. So in his mind, because his name is not on the deed, he shouldn't have to pay 50-50. The one time he offered to contribute more was when the pool liner needed replacing, a $4,000 job, and he offered $1,000 to $2,000. That was generous, but it's the only time he stepped up for a major expense. At this point, I'm starting to feel used. I don't want to let resentment build up, and it's getting harder not to. I'm trying to see his side, but he feels weird about contributing more to a home that he doesn't own. But from where I'm standing, he's living like a full-time tenant with all the benefits and any of the responsibility. So, how do I even approach this without starting a fight? I want to be fair, but I also want to stop feeling like I'm carrying this whole thing on my back.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I wonder where can I get rent for $500?
Yeah, that honestly, me too. Especially like just paying utilities and $500. The last place I live on my own, I was paying like $850, which is still not a lot, but still.
I know like other states, it depends, varies, but I pay 1,000 for, living in my mom's house that she bought. I'm just renting it out. And obviously in California, that is not common. Um,
Mhm.
the rent here is usually around 2,000, 3,000 for some like basic one room apartment or one bedroom studio. And just to have like 1,000 here even is like a blessing. So
Yeah, for sure. Let's read some of the comments really quick. So, top comments on that. So, if you break up with him and get a roommate, you'll get $1,200 a month and not have to spend 500 to cook and clean after him. Get a roommate. Another one is, why are you financing a man 10 years your senior that makes $20,000 more than you a year? He's using you and you're being a sucker. No one who loves you would let you go into debt and struggle like that. Kick him out and get a roommate. And then last one, ask him to find a storage room for his room full of junk, as you need a tenant to rent it out for the needed extra money. Don't buy his food, stop cooking for him, and tell him to clean up after his dog. I totally honestly agree with that because in the past, in one of my relationships, I basically kind of went through this. Well, it was a little bit different. He paid the rent, but I was the one doing all the household stuff plus working and everything like that. And I was paying the utilities and stuff, but he never helped out in the house. And I can tell you right now, if you both are working a full time job and then you're getting all that put onto you to do all the extra stuff, it gets very old. So I
like
totally
burnout.
understand where she's coming from.
Yeah, well, to each to their own. I'm not gonna judge, based on the title. It's like already a red flag. But, you're 22. You're so young.
Mhm.
How does she even find this person? And there's probably a backstory behind it. But for me, it's like if you're already like in your 30s and you're still acting like a child, you barely pay any rent, you barely take care of your dog, you barely take care of yourself. That's what I'm assuming based on the story and how she kind of mothers him. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my god, you could do so much better. Like at this point,
Yeah,
you're taking care of
absolutely.
your son or something. So
Yeah. Yeah, if he especially if he's stating that he loves you, I mean, it doesn't say it in the story, but if he's your boyfriend and you're living together, I'm assuming he's saying that he loves you. So, it's just like why would he do that to her if
there
he
must be
does love her? I
some
just don't
sort
see
of
it.
manipulation tactic going on because obviously she
Maybe.
is choosing to stay in this toxic relationship. I
Mhm.
say it's toxic because it's not 50-50, and
No.
not all relationships have to be 50-50, but it feels nice to, have your partner handle, half of the things and you'll take care of the other half. And having that mutual ground where you're both dealing and cohabiting, it it gets a little easier. But rather in this story,
Yeah.
she feels burnout and she's getting tired of it all.
Yeah, well, ultimately for this girl, I would definitely say that my relationship advice is either get a new man or you just need to have an open discussion with him, tell him how you're feeling and just be like you need to do this or it's done, it's over because I would not be putting up with that anymore, especially if he brought his dog and you're the one cleaning up after his dog that he wanted to bring. I do not think that is right, but definitely either have a serious discussion or end it.
Well, I just think there should be respect, and she should start with setting the boundary of having respect. This 33-year-old man does not have the same respect that she has for him to take care of his dog, to clean up after himself, to pay rent. And he's even saying things like, I'm not going to do all this because this is not my house. It's not my deed. And, honestly, you got to leave. You got to get out of there. You don't want to be
Yeah.
stuck in that forever. You're only 22.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that was our first story. I think definitely started off with a very interesting one, but we're going to hand it over to Sean for the second story. So, Sean, go ahead.
So, this is a crazy story, but I want to hear the opinions after. So me, 18 female versus my almost boyfriend, 18 male, and the hair fetish.
Oh no. I'm okay. You're just gonna have to read that one. I don't even know what to
Okay.
say.
Okay, so I'm gonna read the story now. So technically, he wasn't my boyfriend, but we were right on the edge of dating. We had been talking all summer before freshman year after meeting online. Same college, same dorm, great conversations. Everything seemed to be lining up. We exchanged pictures, talked about starting a relationship once school started, and it felt like something was real, but then things got weird. One day, out of nowhere, he asked if I'd ever consider cutting my hair short. I told him no, and that I love my long hair and I didn't feel like short hair suited me. And what followed was weeks of obsession. He started sending out, me collages of my face photoshopped with different hairstyles. He even gave me TED Talk length messages about the quote unquote moral responsibility of donating hair. And he
Wait,
even guilt tripped me with charity angles. And I told him to drop it, not up to discussion, but we still agreed to meet for a first date during Welcome Week. When we met up, it was so awkward. He barely spoke, slouched the entire time, and kept tucking his hat over his face. And after about an hour, I'd have enough and said that I was leaving. He apologized, blamed his nerves, and asked for another chance. And guess what? I agreed. Big mistake. And then this is the juicy part. On the second date, he asked, dead serious, if he could touch my hair. I said no. And then he hits me with, I was really hoping you'd say yes. I brought scissors just in case. And then he pulled out professional haircutting scissors, like actual salon grade tools. And then he started walking towards me. I backed away so fast, bolted up the stairs to my floor before he could get near me, and later that night he sent me an email telling me that I was selfish for not letting him cut and style my hair because it meant so much to him. He said that he couldn't be physically attracted to someone who wasn't sensitive to his needs. But wait, it gets darker. After our whole disaster, I found out through his roommate that he started offering free haircuts to girls in his dorm as a way to meet them. Not because he wanted to just date them, no, just to cut their hair. And his roommate also told me he kept all the hair in a box under his bed. Before I let you respond to that, I'm going to read some top comments. One of the people under the post said that that's some real serial killer stuff right there. And the second comment was, this reminds me of that X-Files episode where the guy washes Scully's hair and does her nails right before murdering all those prostitutes.
I I honestly don't even fully know what to say about this story. First off, girl, run. You should not have. I don't know what was going on in your head when you agreed for that second try or that second date. Absolutely not. And also, if I was even talking to the guy before I met him for the first time and he was already nitpicking me about my looks, especially like my hair length, I would automatically be like, yeah, boy, bye. We're done. Never again. You're blocked.
I'm just like so surprised that this guy just is so obsessed with her hair because that's just a weird thing to be overly obsessed about. Why go on a date with someone who doesn't even have the ideal hairstyle that you want? But then
Hmm.
in the end, we kind of hear and learn that this guy's just collecting a box full of random woman hair. So
Yeah, like get
that's
a
some
mannequin.
sociopath. That's some
Yeah,
sociopath behavior.
get a mannequin. Like they use it like hair school. Cut that hair. If it, I don't know, I wonder if it's like, if it is the hair or the feeling of cutting the hair. Like
Well, I don't think
I'm
so.
wondering what it is that
I
he's
think this
obsessed
guy
with.
this guy is a freak.
Well, obviously, yeah.
Well, in my opinion, I think the girl was, you know, obviously after college or after graduating high school and you're going to college the first time, you want to experience everything for the first time. And this was probably this girl's first time of maybe potentially going on a date. And so that was probably what she was super excited about. And on the other
Yeah.
hand, this guy is not even thinking about dates. He's thinking about cutting this person's hair.
Yeah.
And I
He's
think
probably
this
like, "Oh, yes, going to college, time to cut some hair."
I think the second top comment made a really good point. It's like that is some murdering, suspicious, like kind of conspiracy theory of, who knows how or who knows what this guy's going to do with all that hair.
Mhm.
You ever heard of those like horror stories where it's like barbarian or something like someone's in the basement just collecting stuff. He's like nurturing this baby doll and it's just so creepy.
Yeah. And well, honestly, I hope she doesn't. Well, I would like to hear an update to see like what happened to that guy. Like, did you tell somebody? Did you like alert the school? Because I definitely feel like that is something that should be brought up to like the dean, like, hey, this guy is trying to cut girls' hair and he's keeping them in a box under his bed. Like, what is wrong with you? That's so
Literally.
weird.
Well,
Ugh,
unfortunately, there's no part two to that story, and it just ended
yeah.
up like that.
I'll just have to follow it or something to see if there's any updates in the future, but I'm hoping that there's not. Like, hopefully she just like got as far away from him as possible.
well, hopefully
Like,
that
get a
was like
restraining order, girl.
years ago, and she is off to a better place, and she has no contact of this weird,
Yeah.
creepy person following her around.
That definitely was a story. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next one. So the next one, it also comes from a relationship advice. My husband, 31 male, brought chocolates and cookies to another mom at our son's school. Not sure how upset I, 39 female, should be. What do you think about that?
So she's upset that her husband is bringing cookies to another person. Am I
Yeah,
getting that
she said
correctly?
she's not sure how upset she should be, which, I mean, just from the title, all I can say is it depends.
Mhm.
Depends on the situation.
Yeah,
So, yeah, let's go
let's
ahead and
dig
get
into
into it.
it.
Hey, Reddit. I'm trying not to jump to conclusions, but something about this whole situation just doesn't sit right with me. And I'd really appreciate some outside perspectives. I'm 39 and married to my 31-year-old husband. He's a stay at home dad and does all the school drop offs and pickups for our son. A few weeks ago, I mentioned in passing that one of the moms at school had texted me to grab some coffee sometime. I didn't think anything of it, just friendly mom stuff. But a few days later, my husband reluctantly confessed something. He said that he had brought that same mom chocolates and cookies. He drove 30 minutes to a specialty shop to get them. Yes, he picked up a few things for himself too, but still, he admitted it only because he thought she mentioned it to me. Keep in mind, I have never met this woman. Ever. He apologized when I asked about it, but the apology felt incomplete. When we tried to
Hmm.
talk more about why he did it or how it made me feel, he got very defensive and actually raised his voice. He told me to just drop it. That reaction made everything feel 100 times worse. And to make things even messier, I casually chatted with another parent at school. She mentioned that my husband comes across as a bit flirty. Her exact words. That stung because I had no idea people saw him like that. Now I'm stuck in this weird emotional limbo. I feel confused, a little embarrassed, and honestly hurt. He went out of his way to buy sweets for another woman, someone I don't even know, someone he barely knows, and she's married with multiple kids. It's just a lot. Am I overthinking this? Is it innocent or am I being too sensitive? Is there something deeper here that I'm needing to pay attention to?
I'm waving my red flags right now. I'm
Yeah.
just like, why? are people saying that your husband is coming across as flirty, especially because they're married? And why is he doing it behind her back? Is my
Hmm.
question and my initial impression of this person. Did you say that this, you know, woman was she a teacher or was it a what's this
No, she was a
setting?
mom. She was another mother of one of the kids at her son's school.
So just like a random like she's just some.
Yes.
Oh wow. Yeah, that makes things very suspicious. And the fact that he's reacting like just drop it just escalates the situation even more. I mean, I get like communication, like, it stems from addressing the issue directly, but this husband didn't even want to address it with her. Like, he just
Yeah.
wanted to avoid it overall.
Yeah, and when he acted reluctant and he admitted to her that he wasn't even going to tell her about it. The only reason he told her is because he thought that the mom was going to tell her. And
Sneaky.
it's like, that's very sneaky. That's very weird. Like, he basically just told on himself. And I don't think he realizes that he even did that, because the fact that you had to bring that up or even mention that, it's very, very sus.
Right.
But before we go any further with any more things, let's read some comments to see what other people thought. The top comments were, well, if I were you, I'd go get a coffee with another mom ASAP. Let her tell you. Don't go into it like a detective interrogating a suspect. As much as possible, try to keep your cool if she starts telling you some rather difficult things to hear. It seems like your husband is the one being naughty here, and she wants to clear the air with you. Does he normally drive to this specialty shop and buy stuff just for him, or does he bring it home for everyone? Because it sounds like he went there just to get her something special. If he's not open to talking about this gift giving or having the rep as the flirty dad, I'd see that as a big red flag. You might have to start evaluating your relationship if it's not worth working on. And another one is get the coffee, get her perspective, and go from there. Your husband is way out of line. This isn't a mutual friend. You do not know her. This is a married lady, and other parents think he's being flirty too. Him getting angry is also very sus.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. When
Totally.
people are guilty, they get mad, they get defensive, and to the sounds of it, that is exactly what he was doing.
I feel like the comments are taking a really interesting path when giving advice. I feel
Mhm.
like, as true as, setting up additional coffee chats with these moms, as true as they can be, they can probably raise more issues about her husband. It's an investigative route. And I fear that to give actual advice here, you should just address the problem head on. Taking this investigative route just shows your husband that you don't trust him, which obviously that you're 100% valid in feeling that way,
Mhm.
but it just worsens the situation a lot more. It
Yeah, I mean,
exacerbates everything.
I will say, I mean, she already said that that mom had reached out to her to hang out with her and get coffee.
Mhm.
So it sounds like this mom is wanting her to talk to stuff about what happened in person.
Mhm.
Because if this random woman that she's never even met before is reaching out to her to talk, there's definitely been some stuff going on. So I honestly, if I were her, I would go get the coffee. I would see what this woman has to say, because if anything, she might just need a little bit more, like, if the husband's not going to give tell her anything or give her any information about what's going on, I definitely would be talking to that lady. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, some girls, they're looking out for each other, but other girls are sneaky. They just try to bring quote unquote issues up. But it looks like in this case, in this story, the husband was going way out of line, buying sweet treats for another woman. And it's equivalent to buying flowers for another person.
Yeah.
I mean, the story mentions that she didn't get any of the cookies, right?
Yeah, she did not get chocolate. She did not get cookies. He brought her absolutely nothing. She only found out about him going to the store because he admitted it after this mom reached out to her.
Yeah, that's cheating behavior. Like, if
Very
anything,
much so.
she's not overthinking it. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think she's underthinking it.
right. She probably a lot more naive than she probably thinks she is, but that's okay. And I'm glad that those women are reaching out to her and letting her know that her husband could be potentially a cheater. Um,
Yeah,
I feel like if that doesn't work, if she's already done the investigative route, that would be the perfect time to have one of those really hard conversations, heart to heart, where it's just like, spill it out. Are you cheating on me? What's the reason of
mhm,
reaching out to this person? What's the reason for buying her flowers? What's the reason for buying her cookies? What's the reason for, can you explain to me why all these women are reaching out to me saying that you're flirtatious? It's disrespectful.
yeah, and especially if you're not flirty with other people when you're in front of your wife, which I think is wrong anyways. You should not be flirting with anyone but your wife. But if he's not acting like that in front of his wife to other women, he should not be doing that when she's not there. Because, like, these women obviously know that he is married, and because they've told her that he's flirty. So it's just like, I definitely agree. I think it's cheating behavior. And my advice is I think my advice is to get the coffee, see what's going on, and then fully confront your husband to see what the heck is going on. What are you doing? That is just all the advice I have.
Well, also we can also go into the fact that she has a child. Maybe she
Mhm.
she can ask her child. Children are very observant.
Yeah, but it depends on how old they are, because if they're young, you don't wanna put anything into their head, but,
You're
I mean,
right.
I agree. If it's an older kid, I definitely think it might be worth asking, being like, "Hey, have you seen your dad, like, act weird when he goes to pick you up from school? Do you see him talk to any ladies?" Like, maybe, but also you might not wanna bring your kids in the middle of drama.
That's true. I mean, do you really want your kid to be in the custody of someone who's a cheater?
No, I mean,
Maybe
I
I'm
wouldn't.
maybe I'm playing devil's advocate here, but I'm just like, yes, you don't want to involve your child in that trauma. It could be very traumatic. But also, like, if your child has seen something, if you ask them, they would say it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, unless they like, because there's some kids that for some reason they catch on to things really quickly, and they might be more protective of their parent,
Yeah,
especially if they're closer to that parent. And I mean, I'm not saying that we don't know if he's closer to the mom or the dad, but I mean, he's with his dad when he's being taken to school and being picked up. So it just seems like he has a little bit more time with his dad.
right. Yeah, I
So
guess
I
you're right
don't know if
here.
he would be, like,
Hmm.
protective or not, because kids are really smart and they are very observant and they could pick up on that kinda stuff, and maybe they would be like, "Oh, I can tell mom's mad at dad. I'm going to protect dad
Right.
and, cover for him," because, I mean, I was a kid. I did that stuff for my friends. I mean, I don't know, but that's
Such a
just my perspective
tricky
on it.
it's such a tricky line to cross because as much as you don't want to involve your child, they probably know like 1,000% what's going on. If they seen
Mhm.
daddy with another woman, you know what I mean? Like they
Yeah,
know, they see it. And when they're older, they will remember that.
absolutely. Well, after that, let's move on to our last story. So,
Hopefully she
Sean,
gets it solved.
yeah, hopefully she gets that solved for real. But, Sean, let's go ahead and let's move on to our last story.
Sure. All right. Title is Boundaries. She's never heard of them. Am I the a-hole my girlfriend calls me crazy because of her quote unquote platonic guy friendships? How do you feel about that?
So she's saying he's in the wrong for what?
No, he's calling her wrong for having platonic guy friendships.
Okay,
That's just from the title.
I I'm just gonna go ahead and say it really truly depends on the actions of this girl.
Hmm.
But I have platonic friendships with males, and when I was in a relationship, I gave my ex no reason to worry about my friendships. So I'm very interested to hear on why
Yeah.
he is concerned for this.
Super controversial topic. Let's jump straight into it. So the story goes, I've been dating this girl for 6 months. Early on, she told me about this male friend she used to flirt with and had history with. I was uncomfortable and I asked her to block him. She agreed. But every few weeks, I'd notice she had unblocked him. Her excuse, she was just quote unquote checking his story or quote unquote wanted to see how he was doing. 2 months in, she started talking to him again behind my back and even exchanged I love yous. I trusted it was platonic, but I couldn't shake the weirdness of it all. We broke up for a bit, and she immediately started talking to him again. When we got back together, I didn't push her to block him again. I thought maybe they'd moved past it. Fast forward, you're gonna scream. She starts FaceTiming him. And guess
Oh
what?
my gosh.
Without telling me, without telling this person. And I only found out when I catch her in the middle of the call. I tell her it makes me feel uncomfortable. And guess what her response was? She said, You're being weird. Can I not have friends? And talk to me when you're not being crazy. And to finish off the story, here's the kicker. During our break, she also sent photos to another guy friend. And she says that he pressured her and that she didn't know what she was doing. So the boyfriend's asking, Am I being unreasonable for thinking this all adds up to red flags?
No, absolutely not. She's 100% cheating on her boyfriend with that guy. Is she stupid? She's not even hiding it. She's basically like I mean
Plain
she's
sight.
lying, but I will never understand cheating, but the whole point of a relationship is you have to have trust in a
Right.
relationship. And
Communication and
she
trust.
is, yes, communication and trust. And she's not doing either of those because he doesn't trust her, obviously, because she's showing him that he can't trust her. And when he's communicating his feelings, she's just completely throwing them to the side. It's like, what is wrong with you? You are stupid.
Let me read some of the top comments for the story. Top comment number 1. You clearly communicated your boundaries. She lied and ignored them. That's not love. That's disrespect. Top comment number
Amen.
2. Bro, you're a placeholder. You're safe, convenient, and she's stringing you along until she finds the guy
Mm-hmm.
she really wants. Respect yourself and
Mm-hmm.
walk. And top comment number 3. If you want to destroy her ego, don't yell. Just go silent. Let her feel that energy shift. When she asks if you're mad, just say no. I'm just less interested.
Well, I if I were him, which number 1, he should have never gotten back with her in the first place after the whole fiasco of
Right.
all of this. And especially like if you are openly FaceTiming this man that you have a past with, and also when you broke up with your boyfriend, got back with him, and then got back with this boyfriend, and you're still talking to this man. You are absolutely attached.
It's
You are attached to him, you're in love with him, something, I don't know.
well, it's the
But
same energy of like, hey, my boyfriend's not in the room. We can FaceTime now. Like,
yes,
what?
and that's sneaky. That is so sneaky, that is so wrong. Like, I do not understand people.
Mm-mm.
Like, if you are in a relationship, if you're not happy in this relationship, you need to leave the relationship. If you don't love that person anymore, or if you don't want to be with that person anymore, why are you stringing them along? Why are you staying with them? Let that person out of your life so that you can move on, you can be happier, they can move on, they can be happier, and then you can just
Right.
not have to cheat. It's not, it shouldn't even be a choice. It shouldn't even be like a thought in your mind if you are happy in your relationship.
Well, we have to keep in mind that some of people in the audience, everyone has different relationships, obviously. Everyone has their good relationships, everyone has a bad relationship. Everything is different for everyone. And we have to remember that sometimes it's really hard. It's really difficult for people like this person in the story to get out because of love, because love is such a powerful emotion. You tend to look through rose-colored lenses at people that you potentially see as, the love of your life. So it's hard to
Yeah,
overlook some of those red flags when
it
those red
is.
flags seem normal to you. And if you're questioning it, that's the first step in, evaluating whether or not this is the right person for me.
Yeah. And I do get that because, like, even in my past relationship, I do get that because I stayed in a relationship that was not good for me or the other person. It was very toxic. It was lasted 6 years, and once I got out of it, I was really hurt. I was really sad. I got very, very sad. But like, after getting like divorced and everything, after my sadness, like, God literally brought me out of that sadness, and I have never been happier in my life. I am
Preach.
single. I am living free, living my life for Jesus, and I literally have never been happier, and Wormy can attest to that. But I'm not
It's
trying to make
true.
it
I
about
can
me.
attest.
I'm not trying to make it about me, but I'm just like, I'm trying to relate to this guy because, like, I could not imagine going through that. But dude, my advice for this would 100% be leave her. She is absolutely not worth your time. If she is not listening to you, if she is not doing something to help you feel more comfortable and more secure in your relationship, she is not worth it. And if this happened 2 times already, it happened once, it happened twice, and she has still not stopped, even though you've communicated your feelings, get out of that relationship. Get away from her. Let her do what she wants to do. You move on with your life, and you will be much happier.
I feel like we came to a general consensus that every story, our advice is to tell them to leave. These are crazy stories. But I feel like that's like the best advice you can give to someone. You can't settle for less. And it's going to be difficult to leave a relationship where you don't feel comfortable leaving, even if it's the best choice for you. And
Mhm.
people do this thing where they'll start compromising and they'll start changing for other people. And they're changing to the point where they don't even know who themselves are. They don't know
Yeah.
who they are. They've lost their true identity. They were a complete different person before they met and started dating this other person. And it's just crazy how love can change that for the worse. So,
Yeah. You can definitely just grow attached to people, and
right.
people become your safe blanket. Yeah. I definitely I agree. And,
Yep.
like, even if you have, like, and this is, like, me bringing in my faith aspect, is when you do stuff with people, you get way more attached to them. I call it a soul tie. You get a soul tie with people, and
Yeah, it's
soul
like
ties
quality
are
time spent.
very yeah, it's very hard to break soul ties. Very
Hmm.
hard. And, I know it was hard for me to break my soul tie, but once I did, it was just so freeing. It was like a weight lifted off of my shoulders. But that's just, like, again, personal experience. But yeah, I think definitely came to a general consensus that he just needs to get out of there. Leave
Well,
her.
I want to respond to, your story and what you just said. I think to if it's any consolation, sometimes it hurts that you're no longer with this person. And for example, one of your hobbies was golf or something, throwing a random sport out there that you used to do with your ex. And this sport made you so happy. This is what you did, your quality time. And it's, what, like you said, it made you guys soul tied. And after breaking up or just, not being with this, no longer being with this person anymore, that activity, golf, just becomes something so dark. And I think to rewrite that is probably a good idea, to rewrite the
Mhm.
emotions and the connotations associated with that sport. So, you know, if you broke up with someone and your thing was golf, try to re-experience golf in a more positive light. Maybe do it with some
Mhm.
friends. Maybe do it with your family. Do it to the point where you don't see golf as like a having a dark history essentially with your ex.
Yeah,
Because every time you think
absolutely.
of golf, you're gonna think about your ex. So try to rewrite that history.
Yeah, literally just changing your mindset on things, it does wonders for you. I know it has done wonders for me. Like when you get that bad thought in your head, or you start getting sad, or like, let's say you're thinking, I just really miss him. I just want to go back to him, or I really miss her. I want to go back to her. You just immediately need to sit and remind yourself, like, wait, they did this and this and this and this and this and this and this to me. It made me feel this way. So maybe I don't need to go back to them because it's going to
Yes,
make me feel like that again.
pull those skeletons out of the closet, but it's also healthy not to put skeletons in the closet. Hey, but if you are, make sure you have those receipts, make sure you have those reasons in front of you to make sure you're, choosing the right fights. And I think
Absolutely.
to go into the next section of our podcast, we're going to answer what's the most real relationship advice that we can give. And part of that is to pick and choose your battles. If it's not worth communicating over, or if it's not worth it to fight over, don't bring it up. If it's a trivial issue. And, going back to the question, any real relationship advice you got for our audience?
Really, my relationship advice is to make sure that if you are in a relationship, you need to sit and look at it from an outside perspective. Just also, you need to make sure that you fully 100% trust this person, because a relationship that is not built on trust is not going to work. And that trust, if it's not there from the beginning, it will never, ever be there. And I know this from firsthand experience. And like, it's horrible. It overtakes you. It consumes your mind, and you just automatically start assuming things in your head. And nobody deserves that. So my advice is to 100% make sure you 100% trust the person that you are either in a relationship with or getting into a relationship with.
I think that's a good point, because people have different attachment styles. There's people with anxious attachment styles, and if you trust that person, obviously you're going to want to consistently have that affirmation. If you have an avoidant attachment style, it's just like you don't want to communicate. You want to be left alone until you feel better before communicating. And then there's those people with the secure attachment styles where it's just like, I'm happy with who I am and I'm great with independently, being together, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I think so.
make sure you trust your person, make sure you communicate, and find your secure attachment style with that person.
Well, Wormy, I think that is a wrap on today's episode for Overreading It. A huge thank you to you, my bestie, Wormy, aka Sean, for hanging out and dropping some truth bombs with me.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun being a part of your second episode, but being your first guest on the show.
Yes, I wouldn't have it any other way, but I hope you all had as much fun listening as we did talking through these wild relationship stories. Whether you're single, taken, or somewhere in between, just remember, you deserve love, you deserve respect, you deserve trust, and you do not deserve someone who would post about you on Am I the Jerk? Or Am I in the Wrong? If you enjoyed the show, please make sure to follow, leave a review, come back next Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for more stories, mysteries, maybe a little chaos. But until then, take care of your heart and don't forget to overread it. Thank you guys, and bye-bye.